I'm going to start off with an honourable mention, and that is Jumpstart. So Jumpstart didn't make the list because you can't draft it, but I think it's really a good format. And I know I've talked about it a few times before, and often makes this honourable mention slot, but I think it's really worth it. I've actually recently written an article for Draft Sim talking about kind of how it's really good, and you should probably check that out because I have started writing a few articles for them, and there's some pretty good other stuff on there as well. But Jumpstart is good for new players, it's good for experienced players, it's good to introduce somebody to the game because it's generally quite beginner friendly, and there's some good value you can open as well. So definitely recommend giving this a look. If you haven't tried it, pick up a few packs. The benefit here is you don't have to have 8 people to make it a good format. You can just play with this with 2 quite easily. A bit more like Sealed, but not even like Sealed because you don't need to do any deck building. You just open your packs and you're straight in there. But yeah, it's kind of the third limited format, so it's definitely worth talking about. Anyway, going into the main list here. So we've got number 10 is still quite a good one, I think, and it's an old standard set, and it is going to be the Eldritch Moons. So we've got Eldritch Moon here. You draft 2 Eldritch Moon packs and 1 Shadows over an Innistrad pack. Most of them will be a single box sets, but I've got a couple, this one and the next one, which are going to be these 2 set draft sets. So if you want to buy an Eldraine box, it would cost you about £167 in the UK. That's the cheapest I could kind of really find. I use Card Market for looking at the Card Market, cheapest English version we can get. And in the US, if I look on TCG Player, a box would cost you $242, which is quite a lot. It's a very popular box, and it's got some really good cards in. If you get a Shadows Innistrad box, it is £135 in the UK and $141 in the US. I won't go into all of the different prices you can get for different sites. Just this is kind of a bit exemplary, and it shows you sometimes the difference between the US and the UK prices. But this works out at an overall cost to draft per person of £13 in the UK and $17.36-ish in the US. These are sometimes rounded up a little bit, sometimes just I've taken the prices where I think they're useful. So that's well within the kind of realms of affordability if somebody's already wanting to go play a draft. You will have a lot of leftover packs from this. You'll be able to get at least 2 drafts out of the box. You'll have enough draft for 16 people. And you'd have some Shadows over Innistrad packs left over. So the box price, going out and buying the box in the first place, the boxes, because you'll need one of each sets here. Going out and buying the boxes in the first place will be a little bit expensive, but I think the draft itself is quite cheap in the end, and it's a pretty good set. There was some cool mechanics going on in there. They had a different spin on the 2-colour uncommons, the signpost uncommons. There were 1 colour with an activated ability of another colour, and they had some really good mechanics that I quite liked as well. Number 9 is the only other one I've got of these 2 boxes, so from this point on they are a little bit cheaper to get together, and they are just a bit more easy to draft together with friends. But we've got Arid Devastation. This is a really, really good draft format. It's one of my favourites actually, and I was quite successful at it. I love the Black-White Zombies in this set. I love Black-White Zombies Splash and Appeal to Authority, and I think that was just one of my favourite things to do in the format. But you do 2 Arid Devastation, 1 Amonkhet pack. Our Devastation box will set you back £154 in the UK or $222 in the US. The Amonkhet box will set you back £167 in the UK or $250 in the US. And this comes out at about £13.50 for a draft per person in the UK and $19 in the US. And yeah, it's just another really solid set. I think around this time, the second set of the format, so where you have 2 of the small set and 1 of the big set, these seem to be really good, and they always seem to be better than the original set. Amonkhet was known for being a very aggressive format. Our Devastation slowed it down a lot, but you still had some of these aggressive decks, and it was really good, really balanced. And I would love to see things like Amonkhet Remastered come back to Arena and actually see some more remastered sets of old sets. Number 8, we're getting away from the standard set, so we're going to be looking at Commander Legends. Now I know it's not everybody's favourite set because it is a bit slow, and we've recently had the Commander Legends 2 out with Baldur's Gate, but the original Commander Legends is really, really stocked with value, and I think most people would probably choose to draft that over the new set come a month's time or something when the new set is a little bit older, because the cards are a bit more powerful in Commander Legends. I don't think it's a bad thing that the new Commander Legends is a lower power level. I just think the original one is really, really high. A box will cost you about £150 in the UK at the minute, so that's $115, and $123 in the US. A box only has 24 boosters here though, whereas the standard set boxes have 36. So it's going to increase the cost of the draft per box, and you'll only get enough for 8 people in a box rather than 12 people in the standard set boxes. But it's going to cost you about £14.38 to draft per person in the UK and $15.38, so about £15 or $15 depending on where in the world you are. It's very, very affordable. I don't think they're going to stay at this price for very long, so if you do want to pick up a box or 2, I'd advise you to do it now, and then you can always save it a draft at a later time. Number 7, going back into standard, is a very popular set, a very powerful set in Throne of Eldraine. So Throne of Eldraine will set you back about £127 in the UK these days. That's shot up quite a bit recently, and $132 in the US. So the prices are quite close in the dollars and pounds. And the cost per person to draft for this one is going to be about $10.50 in the UK and $11 in the US, which is a really, really cheap one. You might be able to find some boxes a bit cheaper if you ask around. There might be people happy to sell them to you on marketplace sites and things like that. But these are kind of what I saw on Cardmarket and TCG. And I should probably say as well, the way I've ranked these is just kind of what I think are good formats, what nostalgia might add into it as well. The ones which were popular at the time, ones which have good cards which people are looking after now, the ones which are still quite cheap, so the actual price of the booster comes into it a little bit as well. And I just kind of did a little bit of my own hand in the air, finger in the air estimations on where I ranked them. There's definitely ways that these could go up and down, and there might be things that I've missed off that other people would like. But number 6, we're going into some of that nostalgia with a set that I haven't even drafted before, but I know it's a very popular one. It's got a very popular setting that we've went back to in Magic before, and it's the oldest one we've came to so far in Theros. So Theros has a box price of about £162 in the UK and $166 in the US. So it's a fairly expensive box. It comes out at about £13.50 a person in the UK and $14 a draft in person in the US, but that's still really within the realms of possibility. I don't think really many people would feel priced out of drafting this if they're used to drafting in an LGS. And it's a really good place. I think the US prices will probably have tax added on. I'm not sure how the tax and stuff works over there. The UK prices, I was usually looking at how much it would cost to get it posted to the UK. But it kind of demonstrates the prices and how these are working. But yeah, Theros is a really popular set. You've got the gods, you've got the enchantment stuff going on, you've got the heroic triggers going on, and I think the original one was seen to be the most popular out of that block. And also you only need to get the one box for it, which helps as well. But it's a really good set, and I think it's something that I would quite like to draft myself at some point because I haven't done it yet. Number 5, we're going back in time a little bit more, and it is the oldest set on the list for a few reasons which I'll go into in a minute, and this is Return to Ravnica. So box price of £137 is cheaper than £137 is cheaper than Theros, and $131 in the US. So it's £11.50 in the UK and $11 in the US. So there's a bit of the price discrepancy here. It's a lot cheaper in the US to draft and to get a hold of and to play. And I think I've drafted this a couple of times actually. It's the oldest set we've got on the list because prior to Return to Ravnica, they didn't kind of print to demand. They did a print run and that was it done. So the boxes before Return to Ravnica shoot run price really, really quickly. But Return to Ravnica, you can draft it by itself. Ravnica has a really popular plane. You got the Shocklands in there from that set. You had some really spicy things you could do with Teleport. Teleport was an overload card, which was like a really cool card. I've enjoyed playing it. It's a cool draft format. I'll draft it again. I don't think it's top of the list, but I think the nostalgia and being the oldest cheap box that you can get puts it up a little bit on the list. You can really go back and have a look at this, and it was a good draft at the time. I think people liked it. They didn't really like it when you added things like Dragon Maze into it, but original Return to Ravnica, not original Ravnica, that's really expensive, but Return to Ravnica is a really popular one that you can get at a really, really cheap price, I think, still. It does creep up every year a little bit, but, come on, £11.50 or $11 for a draft. It's pretty much a standard set price at this point. Number 4 is going away from standard again. We have Battle Bond. So Battle Bond has an expensive box price, but it is cheap to draft in person because you only need 2 packs per person. So 2 in a giant draft, so you need a friend, and you have 4 packs between you. So you get 36 packs in a box, and that means that you can have 18 people drafting out of one box, which is really, really good. It means the original outlay is going to be quite expensive, and it's a bit more expensive in the US. So you can see here £223 roughly in the UK, $333 in the US. But this comes down to about $12.39 in the UK to draft per person, and $18.50 in the US, which is a bit more expensive. But again, it's definitely in the affordable range. I know it's a fan favourite. I know it's a popular format to draft. Whenever I held a draft like this at home, people have always been quite keen to draft it. And I know when I've sold packs online that they always go quite quickly. So it's a really good draft. If you haven't done it, I advise you to. It's got some commander cards in there for the people who like that kind of thing. And, I think it's one which people think is quite expensive because the box is quite expensive, but maybe don't realise how cheap it is to draft per person. And that's why it's quite high on the list here. Before going to the top 3, I do have a code on the screen here to say thank you for, this is for Arena, I think it's 6 packs of Streets of New Capenna from the pre-release pack. So thank you for everybody who's started following. I've now reached the 4,000 hours viewed on YouTube, so that's the second to last box I need to tick. I do need to get to 1,000 subscribers to get to the YouTube partner stage, and hoping to get there really soon. And if everybody who watches this point subscribes, I might get there, depends on how popular the video is, but it is something I would really like to do, and I hope to get there really soon. So, you know, just click that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and like that video just so I can feed the algorithm a little bit. You know, it's what we do here. Anyway, top 3. Number 3, we have a really popular set in Conspiracy. So the original Conspiracy is still really cheap. Conspiracy 2 is a bit more expensive and kind of prices people out a little bit, but the original Conspiracy is a fun draft set with a lot of really good commander cards, really good cards for Legacy and things like that. Some fantastic reprints. Box price £142 or $202. And you know what? I would really want them to print more sets like this. They've done Commander Legends the last couple of years. I know that there's issues with thinking of new Conspiracies to go in, but Conspiracy 1, Conspiracy 2, Battle Bond were all 3 really popular sets, and it's a really, really good draft format. I love drafting. I just drafted it again recently with some friends, and I have one more draft left of this, so I'm saving that for a special occasion. Cost per person for draft is £12 in the UK or £17 in the US, and that's still very, very, very affordable. Boxes are a little bit more scarce these days. You'll be lucky if you can get them in the Euro LGS, but if you can't get them there, you can get them online fairly easily, and I think it's worth doing. If you haven't drafted this set, give it a go. It's a 8-person pod draft, but then you're playing a 4-person pod. It's multiplayer, but it's not Commander, and I think it's got a little bit of something for everyone. Number 2 is the last standard set in the list here, and it's Khans of Tarkir. Now, strangely enough, I've never drafted Khans. I started playing around Magic Origins. I've never really had the opportunity to draft Khans, and I probably should at some point. The prices are going up quite quickly. It's got the Allied Fetch lands in it, obviously, which are really popular. They've got a load of legends in there. They've got a bit of something for everybody. Box price £142 in the UK, $226 in the US. It's definitely creeping up there, but it comes to about £12 a person to draft in person in the UK, or about $19 in the US. In the US, it's quite expensive, so I do realise it's maybe out of some people's price range, but it's a couple of dollars more than you might get elsewhere. It's still in the $20 mark, which is useful. One of the best standard sets to draft, if not the best standard set to draft, especially post Return to Ravnica. You know, maybe original Innistrad, original Zendikar are above it a little bit, but they're really expensive because it came before Return to Ravnica. There's not many boxes of that around, but you know, I think it's really worth it. I think it justifies itself on this. I think it justifies its position at this point in the list. Anyway, number 1. Any ideas what's going to come first? Any ideas what I think is the best set to draft at an affordable price with your friends? And if you've watched the channel at all, if you've heard some other content, you'll know it's probably my favourite draft format I've ever played, and it's Modern Horizons 2. Now, this set is one which is at a reasonable price right now. The packs are still quite expensive, but the draft box is at an affordable price point. It's about £15 in the UK or $18 in the US per person. It's £182 box price in the UK or $215 in the US. Bit more expensive than a standard set box, but the draft itself, if you split it out per person, is quite cheap. There's still 36 price boxes. I think it's the best draft format I've done. It could be one of the best draft sets ever. I think the reprints are great. There's some really good spice in there. There's some really interesting archetypes and unusual archetypes as well. You've got the discard stuff, which we've seen before a little bit with Madness, but the discard stuff really in here. You've got some good Reanimator stuff, and you know, every time I drafted, I tend to draft something different if I'm not drafting the Black-White Reanimator, and I think it's really, really fun draft format. It's got a load of stuff stuffed in there for reprints, for value, for really interesting things. You know, people, I've opened a file monkey. It's just fantastic. You know, you can't beat it. It's the best for, if I could choose anything to draft with friends at the minute, it would be this set. If I could choose anything to draft full stop at the minute, it would be this set. I think its price point is not going to stick at this point for long. So I've got a few boxes saved up so I can draft with friends in the future. But if you don't have them, I would say just go out and grab a box while you still can, because it's going to go up. It's going to go up because the cards are seen play everywhere. Anyway, that's it for now. Like I said before, if you want to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. But apart from that, thanks for watching. Have I missed anything out of my list? Is there anything which should have made the top 10 which I didn't say? Mention it in the comments below, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye.